originally I was planning to do a Lion King joke about Mosasaurus hoffmannii becoming king, you know. Oh, I just can't wait to be Mosasaurus king or something like that. But then I found out recently that a good chunk of my workmates actually watch these videos. And now they love to bring you up every time. I don't know how to feel about that. Let's just crack on. How are we doing, everybody? It's your Mosasaurus Prince, Steel Safety Storage Yorkshire, and I'm back. It's about 10 o'clock at night here in the UK. I'm boiling because I've just had a right spicy meat pasta. You can actually see the steam coming off the top of my head. But today I thought I'd go over an interesting video and explain how the biggest and the baddest of the Mosasaurs, Mosasaurus hoffmannii, the sort of the how do we describe them? Well, think of Eddie Hall as a mosasaur, right? Give Eddie Hall flippers and a big long tail. That's Mosasaurus hoffmannii. Now, what we all want to know is how did Mosasaurus hoffmannii become king? So before we detail Mosasaurus hoffmannii specifically, let's go over Mosasaurus, the genus. So the genus Mosasaurus is a large mosasaurian mosasaurid. I know taxonomy is hard sometimes. It lived from about 82.7 to 66 million years ago during the late Cretaceous. So again, big rock. Global distribution of these species, the largest species could be up to 14 meters, and that's our friend up there, Mosasaurus hoffmannii, is lordship if he likes. Typically, most species of Mosasaurus were quite long-bodied, slender-jawed actually, with relatively slender teeth. But Mosasaurus hoffmannii was the outlier, being a bit more bulkier, a bit more robust. The teeth were definitely a lot more robust, a lot chunkier, and Mosasaurus hoffmannii just so happens to be the first described as well. Now, there are numerous other Mosasaurus species. I mean, I covered Mosasaurus missouriensis in one video. There's also Mosasaurus lemunnii, Mosasaurus conodon, Mosasaurus bugei. There's also this other one called Mosasaurus maximus from Northern America. But I think that just could be Mosasaurus hoffmannii, you know, doing a bit of Texas. So yeah, Mosasaurus maximus is disputed and possibly isn't real. I appear to have upset a few people. Ah, well, I usually do that anyways. So let's establish around about 72 million years ago, the latest campaigning started the Maastrichtian. That's when we seem to get Mosasaurus hoffmannii, most likely, possibly. But around that time, we've still got some of the largest mosasaurs around that time, and that is the tylosaurs, particularly Heinosaurus. So like this fella here, this is a tylosaur. These were up to around about the same size as Mosasaurus. A bit more slender skulls, but still very large cutting teeth. So these were the big bads at the time when Mosasaurus hoffmannii first evolved. So where did the first Mosasaurus hoffmanniis come from? So we've got quite a few examples of early Mosasaurus hoffmannii, but possibly. We've got a large example of a Mosasaurus sp. Basically, we know it's a Mosasaurus, but we don't know what species it is. And this is from northern Italy in the late campaign, so around about that 72 million year mark. We're not entirely sure if this is Mosasaurus hoffmannii or an ancestor of Mosasaurus hoffmannii, but there's a few fossils that sort of dispute that, but this is one of the earliest examples. Now, there are some Polish teeth that might be Mosasaurus hoffmannii, might not be. There might be something close related or maybe ancestral, we ain't got a clue. But again, very fragmentary material, so it's kind of disputed. And then we get to America. Because that disputed species that I mentioned earlier, Mosasaurus maximus, could be Mosasaurus hoffmannii, but let's establish that it possibly is Mosasaurus hoffmannii for the time being. That animal dates to the late campaign as well, so 72 million years ago. So could Mosasaurus hoffmannii have originated in Europe or in the USA? I mean, even the family tree is a bit circumstantial as to where Mosasaurus hoffmannii seems to have evolved. But it seems like Mosasaurus hoffmannii at the moment is closely related to two very slender species, and that is Mosasaurus missouriensis, which I detailed in a previous video, you should go watch it, or Mosasaurus conodon, which was a very similar species. But these were very slender animals compared to Mosasaurus hoffmannii. Now, evolutionary, I reckon I know what happens. Now, what they did is they took a bit of protein shake and a bit of creatine, they shook it up and they drank that every day and then became the big lad here, the big lad. So that's how you can explain Mosasaur evolution at the end of the day. Gym tactics, you know, just go to gym, lift some weights, drink some protein, boom, you're alright. Now, whether Mosasaurus hoffmannii evolved in Europe or in the United States at a lot of stiff competition, again we mentioned the tylosaurs earlier with Heinosaurus. We also had possible early Thalassotitan, like this fella here, which was a similar size mosasaur with a robust skull. You had Mosasaurus conodon, Mosasaurus missouriensis, several different species of prognathodon. Well, some might not be prognathodon, who knows. So there was a lot of competition. So Mosasaurus hoffmannii, how did this massive brute go from being slender boy up to being a I don't know, Vinnie Jones, Mark Henry, Big Show, Brock Lesnar, and absolutely trunching all these other mosasaurs? Well, simply it comes down to the morphology and the anatomy of Mosasaurus hoffmanni, and trust me, this fella is not to be messed with. So first off, I'm going to start with the head end, you know, the one with the teeth and the jaws and the eyes and the nose, you know, the gnarly, nasty end, the end that didn't want to fall into, basically. So Mosasaurus hoffmanni's skull was mostly akinetic. Now what this means is that the skull bones, when a pressure is applied by the muscles of the jaws, so basically when you bite down, they don't move because they're not distributing the pressure like you see with snakes and other lizards. Mosasaurus hoffmanni was a big lizard, and was a big lizard with big powerful jaws, and if his jaw bones started to move when he's applying this massive pressure to bite down hard, well, his face would explode. Even particularly where, well, I'm sort of hanging around here, you know, the top of the head here, that was particularly rigid and reinforced in order for this animal to bite down with incredible power. The pterygoid teeth, or the teeth on the mouth roof, you know those extra rows of teeth that snakes have? Yeah, these fellas have it as well. They were reduced, so the tooth size was reduced in Mosasaurus hoffmanni when compared to smaller Mosasaurus species. So this animal was less reliant on a sort of ratcheting of the jaws, so the bottom jaw would move a bit, so it would move the prey back into the gullet. This animal was all about smashing and grabbing and cutting as much as it could compared to the smaller Mosasaurus species. Now, unlike the teeth of other Mosasaurus species, which were sort of more slender, thinly built, really, in a good chunk of them, except for Mosasaurus bugai had those very large examples. Mosasaurus hoffmanni had very thick, the base of the teeth were very thick. These were railroad spikes, and they were designed to cut through and crunch through anything that it wanted to. And yeah, like I said, large adult Mosasaurus bugai, which is a similar species, they do exhibit some of these tooth features, but not as much as Mosasaurus hoffmanni. Mosasaurus hoffmanni was the brute of the bunch. And Mosasaurus hoffmanni got massive. So we jumped from Mosasaurus missouriensis, for example, which is an animal of about 8 to 9 meters. That's a big bus, basically. Mosasaurus hoffmanni got very big very quickly, at being up to, maybe personally I think 14 meters, but there is estimates for 18 meters. So we're talking animals getting double the size, double the length, and probably 2.5 times heavier. Mental. Now, Mosasaurus hoffmanni, like most other mosasaurs, was endothermic. Now, what this means is that this animal could generate its own body heat. So, unlike you see a lot of modern reptiles that can't generate their own body heat, they've got to sit out in the sun a bit to warm up a bit. Mosasaurus hoffmanni and other mosasaurs, they could generate their own body heat. So they were active all the time. So if you dropped into the ocean around about the time that Mosasaurus hoffmanni was about, yeah, cold water weren't going to stop it. It were going to get there. Now, that big honking thing over there, the tail, no, we're not playing that game. The tail was powerfully built and powerfully muscled, so that meant that this animal was good for short bursts of speed and was devastating at it. It was fast, it was brutal, it was quick. And pretty crucially, Mosasaurus hoffmanni was a generalist feeder, unlike most other species of Mosasaurus. This animal could go after everything: sharks, fish, turtles, other mosasaurs, whatever it wanted, it had a go at. And these all combined meant that Mosasaurus hoffmanni was able to adapt to a whole range of different environments. We've got fossils from the United States, Europe, and Morocco, and we all know that Morocco is Mosasaurus, meaning there's an infinite number of species of mosasaur. But Mosasaurus hoffmanni was able to adapt to all those environments, unlike some specialised mosasaurs like, let's say, Thalassatitan over here, which has got brutal teeth for crushing up hard-shelled prey as well as crushing up bone. But Mosasaurus hoffmanni could adapt and work around those other mosasaurs and still be a big brute. It's mental. So putting everything together about Mosasaurus hoffmanni, the general gist I'm trying to get across is that Mosasaurus hoffmanni evolved at a time where the tylosaurs were going extinct and there was increased specialisation in the mosasaurians, the sort of up-and-coming mosasaurs that were taking over from the tylosaurians. But with this specialisation came a sort of opening for a large-bodied generalist, and Mosasaurus hoffmanni took advantage of that and was able to exploit a whole range of other environments and basically became top dog. It became top mosasaur, top mosey we'll say. And because of that, because the fact that it was so powerfully built, but yet was a generalist able to take on anything it wanted, this thing became king. This thing ruled the world until that asteroid hit. So yeah, if Mosasaurus hoffmanni can rule the world, why can't I? But anyways, it. But anyways, guys, so I thought this was an interesting topic to cover. Why did Mosasaurus hoffmannii in particular became so successful? Where did it originate from? And what specialised it to become basically king of the world during the Cretaceous period? Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope my work friends are impressed. I hope you have a good night. Get some sleep. Get yourself well rested. Enjoy your day tomorrow. Ta-da. Bye.